want to set this up. So I just spent some time talking with Adam about AI, and you've done some really good work in the community, going to schools and libraries, and like some people can be about it online, but you're living whatever you're doing, you are putting in the work to give education away and to get into to help people know more about this. Ken, you are you're in just like very, very connected to the community. You're a civic leader. And from what I understand, you have some reservations about AI, and that's probably a very gentle way of saying it. And so, but what I would say is, in this little gathering, it's a conversation. You're not trying to win somebody over. What our world needs now is people who can disagree and still be next to one another. And I think it's so apropos that y'all, because of the shots that we have and my limited technology, y'all are shoulder to shoulder, and I absolutely love that. So 2 people, 1 technology, very different concerns. Let's see what happens in the space between us. We good?
Yeah.
All right. Adam, you spent some time actually sitting with people and teaching them AI. Ken, you've spent some time publicly questioning where this technology is taking us. What do you think the other person might be missing in this conversation?
I hesitate to answer that in full simply because I haven't really had a chance to hear his perspective, so I never want to kind of make a judgment about what I assume someone's going to say. But I will note, I don't think it's that people that are proponents of AI are missing things. I think it's just that we have different ideas about what the technology represents, as well as what usefulness versus outcome means. And I don't think that's a matter of intelligence or, they're not getting what I believe in or I'm not able to see their end. I think a lot of it is just that this is a very fraught topic, and our leadership in the country isn't able to lead the discussion, so it leaves a lot of us to have to make our own decisions for ourselves, which leaves communities, almost at ends where they're not able to see eye to eye, because it is the kind of technology that presents some very complicated outcomes over time. And I think a lot of times we lean towards immediacy in this culture, where we want instant results. We prize time saving and quickness and how fast can we get this out, and can we put as much information as possible in a tiny package to get it to the people. And I think the danger in that is that, there's something to be said about taking the time to do something. And while it takes time, everything isn't supposed to be about convenience and ease. There's, in terms of intellectualism, in terms of education, in terms of studying, the joy is in doing it. The repetition of work in terms of creating a flyer or presenting a report or studying information and creating critical assumptions and outcomes from that doesn't come from machine learning. It comes from decades, centuries, and even eons of human brain development that we're now handing off to a computer. And it's not theoretical. The research shows that AI does in fact lessen activity because you're not using creative aspects of the brain. You're almost creating what's the word I'm looking for? Like a doppelganger of your own brain, and asking it to do it for you because it can, quote, do it faster, or do it quicker, or save me time. And again, I think convenience and immediacy has just become so large that I won't speak for you, but I think a lot of times with AI, that's what I hear is how convenient and simple and fast it is, or how it saves time. And I think that time is such a valuable resource that we should really consider where that time is spent and how we use it, more so than just results.
Adam, you want to respond? Because we had a conversation before Ken came in, and I really identify with what you said. I really identify. There's a part of me that when it's like a business owner and you're like, how can you just get the data analyzed or what, like this very mundane action so you can better save money to better care for your employees, there's a part of me that wrestles with that too, of like, what does it look like to do that so you can help your employees and pay them more? And I don't know. That was, as you said, I really appreciate your answer though. Adam?
Yeah, I think, I agree with Ken in a lot of ways. I don't think that you should just give, full autonomy to the AI. Like we talked about before Ken got here, is I'm a big proponent of keeping the human in the loop. And it does a lot of the work that is not best done by me. So if I wanted to do research, I tell it the subject that I would like it to research. It goes, finds those sources for me, aggregates the most important parts that pertain to the question that I asked it, and then it provides all of those sources. And then it's my responsibility, and I advocate for people to then check those sources, read over that material. But there's no reason that like a person should have to go through and scroll through all those websites and find that information that's pertaining to the question that they're asking, when a system can do that for you. And you still, I would advocate for learning that information, checking that information, verifying that information. But I also think that it can help you learn things or format things in a way that benefits you. So I'm an auditory learner. I learn more from talking to you and talking to other people in conversation, debate, friendly debate, than I do looking at pages of text. I kind of get lost. It's a big sea. But if I can take that pages of text and then turn it into an audio podcast, which AI can do very easily, I can listen to that same information two people having a conversation about that information rather than reading a wall of text. And that helps me process that better. And I've used that. So like my child had an IED, and he was struggling with some learning at school, and they gave me a ton of paperwork to go over. I didn't know what an IED was, and so I took the 50 pages that they gave me, and I turned it into a podcast, and I listened to it while I was at work all day, trying to find out what I could do to help them and help my son learn better at school. And I think for business owners, this technology is giving them access to a lot more nuanced work. So I think what AI can do, and I think one of the positive things about it is it's going to democratize software and software development. So if I'm a business owner and I use QuickBooks, they're paying monthly or yearly or whatever for that software. I can build my own QuickBooks software with AI and then use it for free forever. And so that is allocating new funds to them because they've developed their own software. And a lot of the issues with software is it's developed for the majority of people. And some people, most people, when they buy a software service, they use 5% of it, and they're they don't use the rest of it. And so you can develop a custom piece of software for your business that only does the thing that you need it to do. And again, it's for free. You don't have to pay the subscriptions. And I think as the technology advances and becomes more capable, I think more and more people are going to start doing that on their own. And that's what I, give consultations about. I do talks about so that people can understand that they can do that and the safe way to do that. Yeah.
So Ken, hearing Adam's kind of response, I think the subtext is he uses AI, but he has this phrase called keeping the human in the loop. How does that sit with you?
I guess my thing is that there's humans in every step of the process. I mean, there's programmers, there's people who feed it information, the people that set directives. But I think the thing that concerns me is that when we talk about the human in the loop, we talk about our immediacy results for ourselves.
Yeah.
What are we getting out of AI technology today when we use it for our educational purposes, program purposes, app purposes? But I kind of want to broaden it just for a second in terms of that response and kind of speak to more of an existential crisis.
Okay.
When I talk about immediacy, we live in a world full of garbage islands and disposable technology and, knickknacks. Go to a Hobby Lobby and there's landfills full of these things and Goodwill stores flush with just constant production and consumerism. And I think the worry is that we already see the failures of the system at play in terms of handling the environmental outcomes that affect us not only now but generations from now. Like I have a 5-year plan for everything that I do now, and even a 10-year in some cases when you get into some of the bigger aspects. And one of the things that's really concerned me about AI is that we have a lot of this sort of like immediacy, supremacy, almost when we talk about what it's doing. But I think we all know what it's really doing. Like, we don't see Memphis, but I promise you, if you look up Memphis and the data center that powers AI there, those people are suffering on a daily basis. The noise, the pollution, the diesel generators, the harm it causes to literally run grok.
Yeah.
That is the acknowledged purpose of it. He is breaking an insurmountable level of environmental laws for that. And people say to themselves, and it's easy, and this isn't an attack on his viewpoint, or
No,
to say
I don't hear
he's.
that.
I just want to note that though, because I feel I don't ever want to seem like I'm saying that people that support AI are like, let's burn it all down. But I think that's where we get into that end though, of like where we kind of let our perspectives shift in terms of like outcomes, where it's like this benefits me now, or benefits the people around me now. But like when
that's capitalism at its I mean, that's the nature of capitalism.
Well, and I think that's where you have to have that broader discussion when you talk about on the working class, the proletariat, the bourgeoisie, who benefits from this overall, and you have a very limited amount of people that are making the real money off of this and are reaping the real rewards. And what we're really going to get out of it is the Colorado River right now being rationed at the lowest levels imaginable because they want to build data centers for AI that are bigger than some cities. The electrical pull of one data center they're planning on building in Utah right now is bigger than the whole of Utah's pull. And that's flyers we make and apps that we build and the ease and convenience that we allow ourselves to separate from those outcomes. And I think that's where just existentially it's really hard for me personally to look at those programs as not harmful. And I know that there is hypocrisy in every perspective.
Sure.
I still eat meat. I still drive a gasoline-powered car. I mean, we're all subject to the problems of ethical consumerism. You know what I mean? Where it's hard to claim that. But like I think one of the biggest finger points at AI is that you can literally look at these data centers and see the harm. The one here, they're going to build on what is considered, and this isn't my phrasing, this is like agricultural department, this is big groups that have said that is some of the most fertile farmland in the entire world. People have come here to study that soil.
Because the glacial, all the minerals from the glacial.
To learn how to make composition of that soil in other places to aid the growth of food stock, agricultural supply. And we're going to put a data center that will not only irrevocably change that, but damage the local landscape, harm the people that do live there, and the water they're going to use comes from the next county over. Well, that's a game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I guess that's just where, for me, I want to note that I don't think he's wrong about what he said. I do love that immediacy. I do love how easy it makes. I love the democratization of access. As a communications person, I want channels for people to be able to gain access. I don't want a local place to not be able to advertise their event because they don't have access to Photoshop or a subscription model. But there's free Photoshop alternatives that if we as a community built better communication channels to offer that access, we could divert people from those things. Like when people tell me they can't get through a paywall, I always share a link with them that removes paywalls.
It's interesting that you said kind of the free version of something. I'm going to stay with you. And then, because it's from mine and Adam's conversation, I was not aware of this, that there are AI models and AI programs that do not require data centers. They are. Do you want to say a little bit about what that is? And that actually changes a little bit of the conversation because you do remove the ecological nature. I have some deep reservations because of what will happen to the environment. But Adam, just say a few words about that. And then I don't know, because I'm with you on a lot of what you're saying. I have reservations, but this was an important nuance of, well, it kind of makes it more it changes it a little bit.
So I 100% agree with like the majority of what you said. I don't want OpenAI to win. I don't want Anthropic to win. I don't want a government to have control of intelligence and distribute it. And so what a lot of people don't know is there are open source models that you can download and use for free without even internet connection. And the thing that people also don't understand is that AI is becoming more efficient and more capable at the same time. So it's becoming more capable of building websites, creating software, and efficient. So I have models that run on my $750 computer that has 8 gigabytes of RAM, which is like the standard RAM on a computer, that can run large language models, it can run image models, it can run video models, it can run music generation models, all locally on my computer. And those models are becoming more capable about every month. A new model comes out. So Qwen 3.8 is a Chinese developed model, and this is a reason like I don't want OpenAI to win, I don't want Anthropic to win, is because they aren't releasing their frontier model weights for the open source community. When it's open source, I can modify that. I can put my own data. I can train it. Again, they're not getting access to my data. And I talk to a lot of businesses. It's not for a $4,000 computer to a company to have your own AI system and run that all locally. That's not a whole lot of money, especially if you're going to pay, $100 a month to OpenAI for these things. But I don't want them to win, and I especially because open source is so powerful and it does democratize intelligence and stuff like that. I guarantee you, they're going to try to regulate open source models, and they're going to try to take control of intelligence, and they're going to say, oh, we're the only ones responsible enough to handle these these class of intelligence models, and you guys aren't allowed to have them, and we're going to criminalize them, and we're not going to let you build your own models. That's the exact world I do not want, and I advocate for open sourcing all of the information, because that's how science is done. Like, the open source community is actually catching up with the closed source community, because you have these labs and isolation, and they're not, giving out their secrets to everybody. But the open source community is like, hey, I did this, and you can use this, and it's all, And so innovation happens there, and that's actually why China is kind of like so scary to us, because we've limited the amount of compute that they have, and they've been able to stay competitive with our models, because they are being innovative and finding efficiencies that we don't have to, because we have all the compute. And so I would say I am with you 100%. I don't want these corporations to just be able to do whatever they want. But like you said, we kind of allow because we gave them the same rights that a human individual has to advocate for themselves. They're always going to win, because the way our law system works is whoever has the most money is going to win. And so when we gave them,
we all agree with that.
That right, we gave them the power to make the laws and change things, and we took our own power away. I feel very incapable to make any meaningful change in that department. So that's why I focused on educating people on what these models are capable of, the open source models that you can use for free and run. But I agree with the majority of what you said.
You said something, though, that really kind of sat with me, sits with me. It's like innovation. And I think the biggest concern is what kind of humans are we becoming with AI? Because my kids, I'm considered a bad dad because I don't give them smartphones. They just have basic phones. They look like smartphones. All you can do is text. Yeah, I know, right? All you can do is text and message. And they're like, Dad, I'm missing out on everything. I'm like, you might be missing out on something, but I promise you I'm doing my best to preserve you. Now, that said, my oldest son comes up with some wild stuff around the house, some just rad ways of fixing problems, and that is that human innovation that I feel like we are numbing down. That is one of my greatest concerns with AI is yes, you can still be creative and it will excel it, but if you're not learning to walk, and we're teaching everyone to run before we can walk with creativity and thoughtfulness and just taking time to figure some crap out, that's something that when you said it, I was like, ooh, that's something I'm wrestling with. Yeah, go
Can I
ahead.
respond to that? So I'm going to call attention to, do we know who Linda McMahon is? She's the Department of Education head.
Oh, yeah.
Vince McMahon's wife. She has zero educational background. She has no basis to be making decisions for the entire country's school children. And she just did an interview about how excited she was to employ, as she called it last year, A1 into classrooms. She was like, they sit there for the first couple hours of the day with their headphones on, learning at the screen, and it's almost like they have their own personal tutor.
Yeah.
And I guess the worry for me is this. You mentioned, and a couple questions ago, where like it allows people to condense sourcing, to find the most pertinent things. That is called critical thinking. It is one of the most important things that a human brain can do. And currently, with the literacy crisis, with almost half of America's adults reading at or below a fifth grade level, and currently children reading at almost 70% or below standard literacy.
Yeah.
Standard literacy, and that includes high schoolers.
We're a post-literate society for sure.
So we're not post, though. The reality is that we allow ourselves to consider that technology has made it easier, but what it's really done is make it so that we don't build our own perspectives for ourselves without assistance, without guidance, without being told this is what you should be looking at. Google absolutely censors its results. Its AI does the same thing. And that's not to say any search engine's perfect, but
Oh my gosh, I didn't even think about that.
They've acknowledged suppressing websites. So they are feeding you the results that they want you to see, and you don't look at that deeper because
it's AI. You trust.
Because don't get me wrong, I trust that you do. You seem fully informed, capable, critical thinking. You clearly have technology in mind. You seem very skilled and educated on it. You have to know that that's an exception in this society, right? And I don't mean that, please, rhetorical. I don't want to turn it into a back and forth on the individual level, and I don't mean it like you and I are going to argue, but that's the thing, though, is I acknowledge that I'm a unique individual. I have a master's degree in mass media communication. I'm extremely comfortable in a lot of ways people aren't, and that's where sharing that education like you're doing is so important, but like it worries me that when they show that AI reduces critical thinking, it reduces creative activity in the brain, it literally, like, shortcuts stuff that, and I don't mean that in the sense of I think it offers some really fraught perspectives because we're talking about access. Like a poor kid who can access a learning model, that is helpful, but we know that the system won't make it where that's just a small tool. They will utilize it in a way to cut the cost out, to make it as efficient as possible so they can cut staff or put money elsewhere, or there's always a cost when we talk about streamlining and moving, because what it's doing is reducing the investment of time and resources into children that are already dangerously neglected. And I think that's my worry, is that when we get into that level of like literacy and critical thinking and media sourcing and source bias, you really start to enter into an information age where people are not capable of discerning the information they're receiving because it's been done for them, to where they trust those results in a way that would be akin to, like, I don't understand electronic gaming. Those are programmed gambling machines. At least the ball on a roulette wheel falls by chance.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's where you get into, like, what you're given, what you have access to, and what it teaches you is what it wants to teach you and give you access to.
That's
like,
a new perspective I hadn't thought about.
I'm from a generation where you could mail away for the anarchist cookbook. You know what I mean? Like, you could, and that's the thing, is if you go online now, that's there, but you got to know where to look for it, and that is a lot of people don't even know where to look for it. You know what I mean? And I guess that's just my danger, is it's not against the capabilities of it, but it's the idea that we should empower people to do more of that on their own, because it does kind of stunt the process, I think.
Adam, how do you feel about that?
So again, that's where open source would be your go-to of really being able to customize the knowledge base of that AI. So I agree. Google, OpenAI, Anthropic, the Chinese models. If you ask one of the Chinese models, is Taiwan part of China? They'll be like, yes, yeah. They won't answer those questions. And so, but
Really?
absolutely,
Absolutely.
Wow.
yeah.
That's the-
Well, I mean, I guess I've never thought. I mean, I understand why, but wow.
It is China's internet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
don't-
It's all they're all propagandized, just like everything else.
We are too. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But with an open source model, you're fine. With an open source model, you can literally train it on the data that you want. So if you're a school, you train it on the whole knowledge base, standard operating procedures, or whatever you would like of your school, and it's going to abide by those instructions instead of whatever it was originally baked into that model. You can post-train an AI model that's open source. And so you can be super intentional about what you're feeding into that. You can go to the library. You can select exactly what material you want your AI model to be trained on. And so, yes, I should. There's so much to go over when I do these AI 101s, and I think I should add that part to it that these models are built by companies, and those companies have biases, and they built those biases into the models, whether they think that they're biases or not. Like Anthropic, I think a lot of the research that they do is really important because they're looking internally how the model thinks, how it comes up with its answers and stuff. And I don't think that a lot of AI companies are really doing that. But something that I think they're doing wrong is they're trying to anthropomorphize these models, making them like human.
Yeah.
They're not human. They're tools. And so
That's a
I
big
think,
danger, too.
So
Yeah.
so in that, they are programming their model to I don't think that it will ever become, but that's the way they're propagandizing their models. But OpenAI and Grok and whoever else, they're all putting their belief systems into those models. Yeah. But with open source technology, you can customize that and you have super control over it. So I agree that, people should be aware, and that's, again, it's just a educational, hey, you guys should know this about these tools, and there's ways to circumvent it.
Yeah. I think one of the things that I've been down this path of AI for a little bit, just kind of talking with people. Why do we have free AI out there on the internet anyways? Why is there a free chat GPT and it's using all these resources and and then propagandizing and then training us to think like that's something that we need to step back for a second and just what is that about? So that's a nuance that I've been thinking through.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and answer. Obviously, OpenAI and Anthropic and Grok, they're all serving you models to use, one as like an advertisement for themselves. They want you to use the product. They want you to subscribe. Most of those are limited. So that
they're conditioning. Is that another way to say it?
I think he means just limited access.
Limited access,
okay.
and they're not serving you the best models that they currently have. So they're serving you like models that aren't the current best.
Right.
And so it's actually cheaper because these models that they've already gone through that distillation process and they're much more efficient, and it's cheaper for them to offer those models, and it's not as expensive. Like I said before, or I guess
in your interview.
Yeah, that not all models require the same amount of energy. They're not all built the same, and so they are offering lower cost models free to the public.
Do you know
like
what and this is kind of a sub note, and then we'll go back to Ken. What is the division between generative AI and mass storage at a data center? Do you know what that division would be? Because we're talking about storing all these files, and that's part of what these data centers are.
As far as percentage of usage?
Okay. I would be interested to know what that is.
It's hard to tell because a lot of these data centers don't exactly give you all that information, but it's I've tried to source as much information I can. Last year, it was 15 to 20%, and it's already bumped up to 30%. So
for generative AI on these data centers,
for training or what's called inference. Whenever you ask a question, it goes to one of those cloud or those data centers, and it processes your question and then sends that answer back. That's inference, and training is another one. So training is actually
that's good. I didn't know that.
The biggest part of the compute, and then it's answering everybody's millions and millions of questions That's inference. So training and inference are the biggest compute parts of AI. But yeah, your Netflix, your YouTube, your Facebook, your Instagram, it's serving you reels and videos, and that's what those video cards do in those data centers, to serve you those media.
I can go back to his earlier point about like being able to program it specifically, and I guess my worry there is well, we know what happens when you have an individual in charge of what people are allowed to know. Darren Bailey's school, for example, if you've seen J.B. Pritzker out at the fair, he had a bunch of T-Rexes.
Yeah, I didn't see that.
So he had a bunch of guys in T-Rex blow-ups, like the stand-up ones, you know?
Like the one in Portland, like that kind of...
At Bailey's thing, yeah, during the Republican Day. And the reason why is because Darren Bailey's school, the claim that is being made, and I mean, I don't have evidence one way or the other, but Darren on video has said that man and dinosaurs existed at the same time. So what if he's in charge of the AI for the kids at that school? And I guess that's my worry, is that when you get in, what if he's a racist? What if someone's a sexist? What if someone is biased against black kids? I mean, look at this. The Connect years ago had 0 black programmers, so the dang thing had trouble recognizing black people as a scanner. Because who is in charge of that information distribution and creation, and what it's allowed to learn from is kind of the whole point.
That's a very important nuance.
That's really one of the big concerns for me, is not that it can't deliver or that it can't be customized, but that it can be. Information is not to be filtered. I don't personally, me as a person, I'm sure anyone that knows me knows I'm about transparency and talking about it. Even if it's me who's on docket, let's talk about it. And I think that's where, when we get into that end of things, you have to be really careful about who's in charge of that information gathering. Where, like, if anyone remembers one of the early models of Grok, they let it feed on the internet and it turned into a Nazi bigot within like hours. It was literally Heiling Hitler. Like, it was wild. And granted, lower, older model, but it's the idea, though, that like one of the recent estimates is that the machine learning initially, when it was learning from the internet, it was still about mostly human posting, mostly human learning. There has been so much AI-produced information that is inaccurate in a lot of cases, or incorrect, or misstated, or it misread, or whatever, that what it's learning off of now in terms of that is predominantly AI-driven information. So now we can have the human there, somewhere in the chain is noted, but they're not learning from humans anymore. They're being directed by humans. But that's like the illusion
that's a good distinction too.
That's the illusion that you're in charge of your dog, because it tells you, it sits when you tell it to, as though it doesn't have free will. I think that's the thing, is we have free will, and our free will too often in systems, when in charge of distribution of information and access, are often disprivileged by existing bias, both implicit and explicit. Institutions like racism, bigotry, homophobia, transphobia, ageism, heightism. I mean, you can't eliminate those things, but at least in a human, you can point a finger and be like, we need to get you out of here. Maybe we need to work on your perspectives. AI is almost granted this level of authority where it's like you should trust something that is fully driven by human choices, that we can acknowledge that people that, and he's fairly acknowledged this, people that run like Palantir or any of these things that are AI driven or have access to our data have shown in their speeches and talking that they do not have the concerns of humanity at play, that they are not worried about our outcomes. And I think that's the danger is in capitalism, we know who's going to win, and it ain't the little guy. So we should be more aware of, like, while there are benefits, while there are pieces like that, you have to really, like I noted existentially, this is a big issue, but when we get into the harm it can cause, because we give it this level of, like, faith almost, it creates that level of worry where who is our real master at that point? You know what I mean? And who are we letting tell that thing to be our master? Like, in terms of, like, what is our outcome? Because they are going to integrate this into workforces. It will disprivilege employment. You know, it will replace people in a lot of aspects. And China has a standing stated state goal to put AI into robot bodies. And I encourage
I've
you
been
to
seeing the
consider
Olympics or something like that.
some of that's AI related,
Yeah.
but there are actual video of them running and doing
Yeah.
athletic stuff. And I'll just
They have,
be
like, a
honest with
robotic
you.
Olympics.
If you don't think that thing's running that fast and imagine it chasing you, then you're not
Yeah.
thinking far enough.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They already have like patrol dogs run partially on AI going around places questioning citizens.
Yeah.
Drones that are,
It's a very Orwellian, dystopian.
and we're enjoying
Yeah.
the fact that it makes flyers quicker.
Yeah. I want to just say thank you both for coming here. Like, honestly, I hope that this was profitable for you. I hope that it was. I hope that you felt respected in this process, because I think we all serve a greater moment in that we have to retrain our country to come back together at the table, be able to disagree, but still be civil with one another. Now, on certain levels, on hate, we'll never be civil with hate. But like on these conversations, so beyond America, Springfield, like this is important that we come together and be able to disagree in a room and still remain true to who you each are. So thank you.
Super quick, I just want to note, I think the key note though, and I want to just include this because of the language. So I was, part of my degree involved a lot of like theoretical work in terms of like community dialogue, as well as for the Department of Public Health, I did a community ambassador program. And one of the key words I would really like to introduce into the conversation for everybody is dialogue.
Dialogue.
A discussion or a debate is much more confrontational. What we just had is a dialogue. I fully respect your views. None of us, we're not raising our voices. We're not insulting each other. We're sharing our concerns. And even if at the end of this, we haven't changed each other's minds, we've added perspective to each other, because I do appreciate the idea that there is a lot of like things there that have nuance and meaning to people that are valuable. It's not, like I don't think AI is fully, but I think that's why we're able to have that conversation is because we hold that mutual respect for each other and our ideas and want to hear from each other. And I just want to note, I think that's the hard part, is that a lot of times in this community, it's hard to get community members to meet with the parts that are causing, like say people that want the data center on an authoritarian level or authority level, not the man in the street, because we're the people that are on the daily.
Right.
But when you get into those big things, they're not having that dialogue. They're putting people out of county board meetings. They're blockading. They're not answering their emails as elected officials, and that's where.
But this is part of the resistance.
Dialogue. Yeah.
This is the resistance to the empire. That's my language. Resistance to the empire of us saying we will not be subject to how you pit us against each other. We will come back and have the dialogue. So I just wanted to say thank you both. I really have appreciated that you picked up this opportunity, and you know what it does? It conditions us and sets the model for the future conversations, because that is one of the things I really hope to do with this project is bring other people together.
Can I have a little bit of a closing
Absolutely. Have the closing statement, bro.
Yeah, so...
Stand up.
I just wanted to kind of like offer my perspective to what Ken recently shared, or last shared, about who's in charge of training those models, even if they are open source. And I think he's speaking to a human heart issue. It's not an AI issue. And I think, obviously we all have issues with this country. I think there's a huge amount of corruption. I think the school system, even in its inundation in its development, was to put everybody in a box.
Yeah.
And my son, who now has an IED, super intelligent, on his own, super smart, figures out whatever he wants, but he can't sit still in a classroom because that's not how he learns.
Yeah.
But they're forced to sit in that box. And so, I have a lot of issues with how we run things, but I think it's intentionality, just like with any tool. This new technology is very powerful. I agree. And there is a lot of concern with a new powerful tool. And it's how you decide to use that tool that is important, and not the tool itself that is evil. So you can use rocket engines to send a missile across the world and blow up a country, or you can use those same rocket engines to send somebody to the moon.
Yeah. Or cure diabetes.
And that's,
or do something that is really affecting a lot of people.
Yeah. And to Ken's point, I think a lot of people, because they don't know the capabilities of AI, they don't understand. They think that flyers is all that it's doing. It has super intelligent models that can identify cancer faster than a human eye. It's developed human protein. It's developed an understanding of human protein folding that helps us understand how those proteins operate and can help us develop drugs. It can help us develop new materials because it can help predict what those materials like if they're trying to develop a metal that is conductive, they can kind of predict that instead of testing a bunch of metals. They can say, okay, this is what AI is predicting how this metal will react. It will be superconductive. So instead of trying a bunch of stuff, they can isolate that issue and produce the thing a lot quicker. So it's advancing science right now, mathematics, biology, material science. It's pushing those things forward to provide, medical services, all different kinds of things. But yeah, flyers is a very basic thing.
I do think when you have when we start talking about AI, let's say AI is the thing or whatever it does to cure diabetes or cancer, it won't change how people feel, but it will certainly change the conversation. So
2 seconds.
Yeah.
Oh no, that's the tough part, man.
Yeah.
That's what I meant by the dichotomy of the existential crisis is that, where that started with the tumor identification, right? Bagels.
Bagels?
The AI program was originally algorithm built to discern, and it's either donuts or bagels, like they'd be coming down the conveyor belt, and it was able to visually identify based off the color and sizing what they were, so it would distribute them properly into packaging and distribution. So then they took, so just as a note though, there's an actual article on this where the guy talked to a researcher about it and was like, I bet this could actually help with some of your stuff. And it was bigger than that, but they developed it to where part of that technology that now identifies that stems from the guy's desire to make their bagel sorting easier. And I mean, that's the cool part about AI is that it really does have some neat stuff. You know what I mean? But I think that's where, and I think you'll agree with this, is regulation. It's where science, of course, is going to use it for the right purposes. And I think that's where, but you can't ignore the fact that CSAM, child sexual assault material, and porn is regularly produced by AI. And I think that's where creating, Grok is absolutely I won't get into that. We could be here for hours. My note is the regulation of it, and I think that's where I think we would both agree that we don't want it regulated to make it inaccessible, but we do want to regulate access, intent, purpose, where it doesn't become a replacement for capability and outcome, but instead, as you noted, as a tool in our box rather than this overlooming force that it's becoming, where they're like, want to make a cheeseburger? Let's do it with AI. And you're like, whoa, slow down, dude. You know what I mean? There's got to be a limit to its implementation into our society where there's just that level of I just want to see more open discussion at a higher level about real regulation, because we at the micro level, I trust your judgment. I don't think you're doing anything nefarious wanting to help children and give accessibility and create communication channels and aid research. And I think that's the thing with a lot of AI proponents is how valuable it can be. But there's also that other end where it's there has to be a level of authority and oversight that we can't leave it to private companies that are purely profit-driven to be the largest overlooming part of that conversation.
Because without regulation, we have capitalism, and we then have 8-year-olds in the factory. So
we have
you got to have regulation for a lot of things.
The children yearn for the mines.
Hey guys, thank y'all for coming. I really appreciate that, guys.
It's been great.
Yeah,
thank you.
Absolutely.
Right here.
I really enjoyed it. Tony, thank you.
Yeah, man.
Thank you, sir.